Hey Ben, sorry it took me so long to get back to you about cutting your hair, but as you can see, now I need to cut my hair. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you how I do it. Okay, so look, we're not going to a proper barber here, and we can't expect those sorts of results. We need to maintain what's going on, and I have not been. So here's where I start. Right here, the sideburns. Now I can't grow proper sideburns like, with like my facial hair, but you probably can. So regardless, mine fan out like this all the time. I feel stupid. So what I start with is, and my mirror's behind the camera, so that's, so I basically just kind of assess the situation here, and I'm just going to go ahead and first of all take off a bottom chunk. And you're like, what? That's so outrageous. No, it's not. Now I'm gonna fan it forward the way that it's been doing in the morning and whatever. And I'm gonna kind of like trim it perpendicular that way. Does that make sense? So it's a little tricky. See all this bullshit? So you're not gonna be able to get a lot of the chunk out, but you can try. Just like be really, really liberal, conservative with how you do it. Okay, so I'm just focusing on just this side right now, because if I take you through this whole process, it's gonna be a really long video. So now what I'm looking at is how much of my hair goes over my ear, right? And that's quite a bit. So now I'm gonna work back this way, but remember, the way your hair usually falls needs to be your guide. So I'm gonna get a little closer and I'll pop back. Oh yeah, okay. So you just want to, best you can, make a fine line up towards your ear. You don't want to go crazy. You just want to like show your ear again. Does that make sense? Could you see that the whole time? Right? So now it's kind of looking fresh on that side, you could argue. All right, so now check this out. Got all this stuff. So now you have to consider which way do you part your hair. And I know for you it's kind of a little amorphous, but just go with me because I think you do move it in a certain way. So I obviously move mine this way. So I want to cut all this hair shorter than I'm gonna do anywhere else. So obviously this shit that's sticking out, like that's where I'm starting. So you don't want to go crazy. You always want to cut less because you can always cut more. So I'm taking these guys, see those guys? And I'm gonna just trim them down. I need to get a little closer to the mirror. Hoping you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I think you can. So you can see the obvious outliers, and yeah, it's gonna be chunky and weird, but this is quarantine, Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. I don't want to go overboard on this side. So now I'm gonna move on. Well, actually, no, never mind. No, I'll do the other side some other time. So most important next part is, again, determining which way you put your hair. And again, I don't think you do a mohawk. So what I was trying to get at is you've got a third of your head here, a third of your head here, right? And that's where you want to start, basically. So if you're pushing your hair this way, this stuff you want to pinch with your fingers like that as much as you can, like a third of your head, right? And you're gonna work on getting that just, I mean, like, if you pinch that much, that's like an inch. I would suggest like probably about a half an inch, right about there, right? But then obviously, again, if you're pushing your hair a certain way, the top here should be left longer, but you can still do the same thing. So you divide it into thirds and take your fingers and you work on that. It's not going to be like a one snip sort of thing. And then you want to have balance. So this is going to be sort of like a short, long, medium situation. So over here, you trim down, but not as much as over here. And then the other thing to remember, once you do all that, is then you divide your head into half, where like there's a front half and a back half, right? And the back half, you're gonna want to be about half as long as the front, right? So if you consider while you're doing everything, right? Like if you're doing it in thirds, like you would cut off maybe a half an inch here, but in the back, probably about like 3/4 of an inch, because then it's gonna be all poofy and weird. Does that make sense? So in the back, go shorter. If you look at a back half of your head, and then the front half leave a little longer, I think you'll get a pretty desirable result. Okay, 7 minutes. I hope that helps. Bye.